You ready for this?
Yeah.
So today Matt and I are going to answer more of your questions. I feel like we're awful crooked, are we?
I know you are.
I'm not crooked.
Crooked as they come.
Crooked as a dog's hind legs, is that what people say?
Yep.
Talking about roads that are crooked, you'll hear people say stuff like that. All the roads around here are crooked.
Yeah, there ain't a straight one on this place.
They just turn back and forth and up and down, and some of them, those S-curves, is what people call them, over towards Bellevue. I can never, all my life, I've tried to understand. I need to draw them out on a piece of paper. It's like, I'm like, how could I turn that many ways and not go in a circle? You know where I'm talking about? Yon side of the school, all those curves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like it's just curve after curve after curve. And I'm like, I should have met myself by now when I come around this last one. So our first question is, have we ever visited Amish areas? I have never visited an Amish area. Matt hadn't either. We hadn't together, but we hadn't separate either. This next one is about catawba worms. Are they still a thing? People fish with them.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, I don't know. I really don't know a catawba tree when I see one, but I know there's a few around here, and I know I worked with a guy that talked about them, and he had let me know when the worms were there, and he was going to go catch a bunch and going to go fishing. But I've never used them. I just know of them. I don't know anything that much about them. But they say that is the very thing to catch trout with.
I don't know anything about them either. I wouldn't even know if I seen one. But several years ago, I rode on the Blind Pig and the Acorn, and it led me down this journey of finding out that I was writing about a tree, and then come to find out it was one of my Papa Wade's brothers that brought the tree out here. It used to be down in the pasture. Thank goodness I have a picture of it, because it's gone now. I took a picture of it back then. But it was actually, he thought he was bringing one of those trees, and he come from Asheville, and he wanted to plant 2 or 3 of them so that when he come out here to fish, he'd have his bait ready that time of the year, whatever time it is of the year. But he actually brought what they call a princess tree or an empress tree. If you've went through there's some in the Nantahala Gorge, but mostly on over in Haywood County, between there and Buncombe County, you'll see them a lot of times growing on the side of the road, and they have purple blooms that hang down, and there's just lots of them. That is what you're seeing. And so there was one in the pasture down there, a fairly large one. How big was that one?
It was probably foot diameter.
Yeah,
with the trunk.
But it died, so it's gone now. But I think there's one up the holler there right from it. There's one still there.
I think so.
And those are supposed to be really known to spread easily, like they're invasive. They're not native to the United States. But those have not, here, we must not be suited for them because they've not spread. One did end up under my kitchen window. That's what started me down that journey, to find out that Blaine actually brought that tree out here, thinking that he would have a ready-made bait. I'll link to that down below, that series. It started out about my fairy tale that was living under my kitchen window, and Granny and Matt was both telling me, you can't leave that there, right? Which of course I couldn't leave it there. Okay, how do we store taters for winter? We usually don't grow enough to have to go through a process of really curing them out and all that. We do cure the ones we dig. The way we do it is we dig them up, and we don't wash them or anything like that. And we put them on our front porch, which is covered, but it's covered, but it's open air. Air can get to them. But normally, the potatoes we grow, they're gone before Christmas even. When we dig them in late fall, that doesn't last long.
And we're back to buying potatoes.
And then we're back to buying potatoes, right? But you can Google online and find all different ways of people, how they store theirs. Now, when I was young, Granny and Pap grew a lot, and we did have to do that. And the same thing, they would not wash them or anything like that. You don't want to do that and get them wet, or that's what we believed, what Pap believed. But they would spread them out in an area like that where they could cure a little bit, and then we stored them in the basement. In the basement. Some people have a cellar. The old people sometimes would even dig a hole and put them in the hole outside.
You dig a hole and line it with straw and stuff, and they'd put potatoes, and they'd also put cabbage and onions and stuff like that in.
Different things. So this year we may grow enough to have to worry about storing them. So I think we would do it in that same way, though. We would probably leave them on the porch there for them to cure a little bit, and then we would store them in the basement. Is what we would do. But you could certainly find someone detailing how to do it online, I'm sure. Have we ever caught fish in our little creek here in Wilson Holler?
No.
What about when it goes further down and gets bigger?
You get down just a little bit further, and there's some, horny heads and stuff, and I actually caught half a mile from here down the creek, caught a little bitty trout one time. Somebody told me they had caught a fish in that part of the creek, so I went down there and tried it, and it was just, 6-7 inches long, but I caught a whole bunch of them horny heads out of it. And I've never really tried it up here, but we're down there, at the creek and crossing the creek in multiple different places up and down it all the time, and never really have seen any. And it's just up here, it's about too small to support any fish.
But people have tried over the years to put some in it to stock it, just
Right.
one or two here and there, but it don't take, is I guess how we would say it.
Yeah, they don't make it.
So what is the best green bean, do we think, for shellies? Hard for us to answer. You may be able to answer that one, so leave it in the comment. We love shellies, and if you don't know what a shelly is, it's just the bean and inside when it gets bigger. And it seems like towards the end of the growing season, you have more shellies, and maybe you have to get rid of some of the pods because they're tough or they've got bad places on them. So if you're breaking up a mess of beans, you end up with more shellies than at the beginning of the summer when the beans are smaller and things are not as hard maybe for them they don't have as many obstacles to grow good, and as far as the hull to stay pristine where you want to eat it too. So we grew white half runners, we have over the years, greasy beans. What else have we grew? The rattlesnake beans, peanut beans, all of those. And it just seems to me like as the summer goes on, you naturally have more shellies.
Yeah, and if you pick beans and then they bloom again, and you're able to keep picking them as it gets later, especially if you happen to have any into August, 1st of September, and we've had them like that a few times. They've got lots and lots and lots of shellies in them. And they're good.
And maybe you could just let your beginning green beans go longer and you'd have that same effect. But in the beginning, we want to pick them to promote more growth.
Right.
So, and of course, we're anxious to eat those wonderful fresh mess of green beans, first ones, and to get your canning started, all those things. But if you've got a favorite that you think does really good for shellies, please put it in the comments. So have we noticed a difference in raising girls versus raising boys now that we've got grandsons? Matt and I are not really raising the grandsons, but we've got a bird's eye view, I guess. For me, I would say I've heard all my life how and even Granny told me it's much easier to raise boys than it was to raise her one girl, me. But so far, I'm thinking it's much easier to raise my two girls than it was the two grandsons.
I think it's directly related to who's doing the raising. That's what I think.
Oh, no.
So.
Well, that's Matt's 2 cents.
I'll leave it at that.
For me, it just seems like the two, and it is all kids are just different, but the two grandsons are more, I don't know, difficult, fussy, temperamental, I don't know what you'd say, than Katie and Corey were. They were easy babies. I had 2 babies at one time, but I was very lucky that they were easy, and they slept good, they ate good, they were easily entertained. Until they got to a certain age, and then they wanted you to entertain them. But when they were babies, like Woodrow and Ira, they were easy, which was good. With all the rain and humidity that we have, how do we avoid tomato blight? Thankfully, we've just never had to deal with it very much. Now, I say that, and this may be the year that we have it terribly. But there are things you can do, like some people leave their tomatoes and let them grow and just do what they will. And then some cut the suckers and trim out around the lower branches. And that will help air circulate, so that might help with the blight. And then I've heard some people, Matt, have you heard this, say that sometimes they think the blight just gets in their ground.
Yeah, I've heard that, and they'll rotate where they grow their tomatoes from one year to the next. They move them around because of that.
Yeah.
And it may work. That may be what you need to do. I don't know. Like she said, we never really had to deal with it very much, so don't know.
Yeah.
It may also be, I don't know this, but it may be related to what varieties of tomatoes you grow too.
Might be.
The heirloom variety like we grow, I don't know, they may be a little stouter. I don't know, or may be more resistant.
You might find one, and it is interesting about all the different varieties. Like Cherokee Purple does wonderful for us. It might not do that good for you, but then some people have such wonderful luck with brandy wines, and we tried them years ago and didn't really have much luck, and then we tried them again last year and it was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it depends on, got to find one that fits your little microclimate right where you're at, or your soil makeup, or whatever it is.
I think the different varieties are soil dependent is why they do good in one place and not the other.
Yeah. So seasoning and caring for cast iron, if it's something that's really rusty, can it be fixed?
Probably, yeah.
And
rust is easy enough to get off. It's just it's according to whether it's pitted deeply. And even that can be used if it's just not damaged horribly, I mean, we've got a pan, I think, in there that's pitted some, and I use it all the time. The rust, I mean, you can get the rust off and then begin the seasoning process with the oil and the heat, and it soaks into the metal, and the rust, I mean, that just does away with it. And then as long as you keep it oiled, it don't come back.
You can find on YouTube here, if you just Google like rusty cast iron, there's different channels where they'll go and like find one at a flea market or thrift store, or maybe in somebody's backyard where they've just let it set and it's just covered in rust, and then they bring it back to what it should be. So you can find those. And a lot of people ask Matt and I, because we cook in cast iron, if we would do a video about them. I've got a video where I share some of my favorite pieces and talk a little bit about them, but we don't have one like on seasoning or anything. Maybe someday we should do that, but we've not. But if you check out Cowboy Kent Rollins, is that his name? He has several on his channel, and we do ours pretty much the same way. Yeah,
that's kind of where I picked up. I mean, I knew a little about it. I did it a little bit differently, but once I saw him do it, it kind of clicked in my head, and that's the easy way to do it, and so that's what I've been doing the last several years, and it works well. You just got to stay on top of it. I mean, once you get one to a certain level of seasoned, then it's very, very easy to maintain. Very easy.
I think the real secret in using cast iron, people ask us, how do you get your cast iron to look like that? I think the number one secret is just use it. We use ours every day. Every day we're using them.
And it also, I've come to figure out that the old cast iron is a whole lot easier to season and a whole lot easier to maintain, because it's just a different metal makeup than the stuff today. We've got some one or two newer pans in there, and we use them, but they are definitely not the same as our old pans.
Yeah, you can just feel the difference and see the difference.
They don't season as easily, and they don't keep their season as easily. It's just that old iron, or the old process they used to make those pans back then, or the iron itself, is just different, 100 years ago, and most of our pans are from then. We just got one or two that's fairly new, and I use them a little, but I don't use them like I do the old ones.
Yeah, and so our favorites, or my favorites, the Griswold. We have some Wagners too.
Right.
I don't know what Matt's favorite is.
I like the Griswolds pretty well, and the Wagners are just as good. It's just the Wagner that we have is not as good as what Griswolds we have.
Yeah.
But the ones we have that we use daily are, I would not ever use nothing but that.
Yeah,
ever.
I love them. But I think that's the key. A lot of people say, well, I have a cast iron, but I don't use it ever so often, and so how do I keep it seasoned? Well, I think it's harder if you just use it once every few months.
Right.
If you use it every day, you're constantly putting oil in it and whatever. I think that really helps it.
And when I get done with one, every single use, number one, I don't know about you. I think y'all kind of break the rules a little bit.
Oh, I break the rules all the time.
I don't.
I'm in too big of a hurry.
Yeah, I don't. I very rarely use any metal utensils in them while I'm cooking. Just try not to skin the seasoning. I mean, I'll use a spatula to flip something, but that's not the same as scraping and digging.
Oh, well, I wouldn't do that.
But anytime you cook something that's kind of stuck a little bit, I always, while the pan's still hot, even before we eat or before we whatever we're doing, while the pan's still hot, I will get that off and go ahead and re-season the pan, or just put a coat of like olive oil, a really, really thin coat while it's still hot, and just let it cool down with that on it. And that, the metal pores are expanded, and it'll soak that oil into the pores of the metal. And I'm pretty religious about that as far as doing it correctly.
Yeah.
And if I catch somebody in here not doing it correctly,
you're gonna whip us.
I get a little bit upset, and my voice goes up an octave or two.
If you've got stuff really stuck on, I like to, like Matt's saying, so if I cook pork chops or chicken or something like that, then when I take up the supper or take up whatever we're doing, breakfast, whatever, then I'll just pour some water in there and let it soak. Hot water.
Hot as you can get it.
And let it soak while we're eating, and then when I come back to clean it up, I can just scrape it out with a wooden utensil.
Right. And it'll just peel right up usually.
If it's
but it has to be hot water. If you put cold water in a hot pan, it'll crack.
Yeah, and if you have a little trouble, if it's really cooked on, you can turn the heat on just a little bit and let it kind of simmer while you're doing that. But most of the time, if you just pour the water in there while it's hot, it'll just do it itself. You don't have to worry about it. Anyway, but check out Cowboy Kent Rollins. That's his name, right? You can see that. Has Matt ever tried growing tobacco?
No. I've worked in tobacco fields when I was young, but there is no tobacco grown anymore here. The government bought up all the allotments, and individuals can't grow it anymore. But I've never tried to grow it. Like I say, I worked in it. Worked when I was real young. Worked just kind of like summertime putting up hay for people. I worked in tobacco fields a little bit too.
Is there I wonder if there's that's like if you were farming on a big scale, but is there like a personal use thing you could grow it, personal use?
I don't know.
Probably. I don't know though either. Do we ever go mushroom hunting? We don't. We grew mushrooms. What were they called, Matt? Shiitakes?
Yeah.
We inoculated the logs and grew them until the logs disintegrated. And
we ate the logs.
Well, we used the logs over here around some beds. We did that. And then we had mushrooms growing over here. We thought they were done, and then turns out they liked being in a different location. One of my dear friends, Jamie, she showed me a couple of years ago how to find chanterelles, and I really enjoyed that, and we found them and ate them. I found a patch growing down below or behind where Corey and Austin live now. That was when Steve and Kim still lived there, and I'd go get those. But I don't know that's the only time I've been taught about mushrooms. Now, Jamie could teach me about more. I need to let her do that, but I haven't. But she showed me how to do that, and we gathered them and fried them, and they were delicious.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they were really good. So what kind of spiders? Do we have a lot of spiders in our area? Someone wants to know. And I guess about like the poison ones. We have all kinds of spiders. They're everywhere.
Yeah, we got a whole house full of them in there now.
House full, basement full, house full, yard full.
Especially, I don't know about all the venomous varieties, but I know we've got black widows and brown recluses here. I've killed black widows in the house multiple times.
Those are the two that you hear people being warned, like warning. You grow up knowing to look out for them and to be.
And I know a guy that was bitten by a brown recluse.
Yeah, bless his heart.
And he had a hard time with
He
it.
did.
But I've never, I wouldn't know one of them if I saw it. But I do see the black widows on occasion, especially in the basement. And if I see them, I get rid of them.
Yeah. There's some big spiders here.
Yeah, we have lots of wolf spiders.
Yeah.
And they're big old scary looking things, but they don't generally bother you.
No.
But they get big looking, and they'll jump and hop around and make you hop on your tiptoes trying to get away from them.
Yeah. Okay, does Matt use black powder or black powder substitute?
Well, I've got some of both.
And this would be for a muzzle loading gun,
Yeah.
muzzle loader gun.
Of course, I like the black powder, the real black powder, much better. It's just regulated more and a little bit harder to get, and it's much more expensive. But it's way better to me. I mean, some of the guns the substitutes won't work in, but some of them they will. But I've got some of both, and but my preference would always be the real black powder.
So that was the second part of it, was if you noticed a difference. So
Yeah,
you'd
absolutely.
prefer the
Yeah.
real stuff.
I mean, the substitute works, but it don't work in every gun, or don't work well in every gun.
Okay.
Real true black powder will work in all of them and work better. It's just it's dirty, but
Yeah.
it works.
Do we have a favorite meal? That's a really hard question because we think we eat pretty good. But what about you, Matt? I'll let you go first.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I have two that it's just hard for me to tell which I like better. One of them's fresh fried fish and fried taters and ramps, and the other one would be fresh deer tenderloin and fried taters and ramps, or fried taters and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I like fresh corn and tomatoes and green beans out of the garden too. So it's just hard to tell. But I guess as much as I like meat, I enjoy the really good fish probably more than any of it. I mean, it's just hard to beat that for me.
So my favorites, it's hard. I can't really say a favorite, but I love soup beans and cornbread and fried taters. Mm-hmm. Now, I wouldn't be objecting if along with that I had some fried squash and some corn, roastinere, fresh roastinere, straight from the garden. That'd be delicious. Some cucumbers, maybe a tomato. And then the same like Matt about it, fried fish with slaw and hush puppies and some kind of taters, fried taters, or even French fries. That'd be one of my favorites too. So both of those.
Now that we've done talked about that, I'm cooking supper, and it's just going to be a letdown
No,
now.
it won't be. It'll be good. It'll be good. And
I'd like to have some fish.
We do have all that wonderful garden stuff right around the corner coming to us.
Everybody.
Okay, what do I tipper collect besides seeds? I have all kinds of seeds. I don't know. I used to, when me and Matt was first married, I collected angels, and I had angels all over the place, didn't I? Mm-hmm. I mean, I collected them. People knew that, so they'd give them to me for Christmas and things. And I painted angels. I was just crazy about angels. But somewhere along the way, I quit. Just decided I had more than I needed. I still have some of them. I give some of them away, but I kept my favorite ones, some of them. Some of the ones that I have, Miss Cindy gave me, and Matt gave me, and Granny gave me. I have some of them, some of my favorites. I guess that's where all my favorites. One of the ones I have, Granny bought me when I had Katie and Corey, when we were still down there in the hospital, and she went to the little gift shop in the hospital there and bought me one, so I still have that one. I've got one that Matt paid. It had the sticker on the bottom of it. I don't know if it's still on there or not, but it was like $2.99 or something, and I was pregnant, and you bought it for me way down in Hiwassee Dam somewhere. You was down there working, and you stopped at a gas station or something, and they had them. Yeah, anyway, it was real sweet. It's just a little bitty one. Anyway, so now, other than seeds, I guess maybe books. I love to read, so of course I've got a lot of books about Appalachia, fiction and nonfiction, and I don't know, do I collect anything else? I guess that would be it. Books and the seeds, maybe. Can you grow in a kiddie pool taters or vegetables or anything like that? You can. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of people use those little kiddie pools to do strawberries in because it kind of keeps them contained. Mm-hmm. So yes, you can do that. I love looking at unusual containers and thinking about what you could grow in them. When Corey and Austin was at their other house, I don't know if she's done it over here or not, but she had some old refrigerator drawers and she grew in them. And that worked pretty good. I think Matt had to haul them things all over the place.
Them things. They was plastic and just brittle and cracked.
After they'd sat in the sun,
and you absolutely couldn't get rid of them or she'd lose her mind.
Mm-hmm.
She'll probably watch this and jump on me, but And then she wanted me to haul them from her house to this house, but she didn't want them down at her house. Right now, she wanted them at our house. So they were piled up in my way, and I had to move them multiple times, and I was scared to pick them up because they'd crack and make noise. And finally, I got tired of them, and I grabbed them and threw them in the truck. And I think they're down there at the wood pile. I think I finally come to the realization, if she gets mad over this, it's just too bad.
And you put
But
them
they're
down
leaving my yard area. I ain't dealing with these no more. And I think that's what I done with it. And, now got all that garden area, and then she can grow stuff in our big
Yeah.
garden. She don't need them things.
Over there, she didn't have much room. But yes, you can grow in all sorts of different containers.
Remember that tomato I grew right there out of the bucket that year?
Yeah,
Upside down tomato?
Y'all may have seen that. That was the rage for a while, growing tomatoes upside down. We grew one like that.
Yeah, it didn't work too well.
No, it didn't. For us, it didn't. It might have for other people. Okay, we'll have one more question and we'll quit. This was, I think Rhonda asked this one. This was a good one, I thought. Is there something that Tipper says that I say that can strike fear in Matt? Anything I say that strikes fear in you. Like
Yes.
her example was like if she said she fixed something in the house, her husband would be like, oh no, what did you do? Because she probably used a hammer to fix it, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So what about for you?
The thing that strikes fear in me is when, and this has happened multiple times over the last 30 years since we've
There's
lived
no
here.
telling what this is going to
And it's always on a Saturday morning or whatever. She gets up and says to me, I'm going to clean out the basement today. Well, the basement, when we moved in here, the agreement was that the basement was mine, so my stuff was in the basement. Well, that agreement has been breached. And everything upstairs is you and the girls, and everything downstairs is you and the girls, except for one little corner. And one little corner is mine, so when you clean out the basement, my little corner just gets heaped up with the stuff that y'all are not decided for sure if you're going to get rid of or not, so it just gets shoveled into mine, and I can't find my stuff. And how many times has that happened?
I don't know.
Many.
So that's what puts fear in you?
Yeah, because
Fear and dread?
well, because then I know the sequence of events that
It leads
brings
up to
about,
that.
I've got to try to get ahead of you and go and move and protect my stuff to keep it, the stuff that I know I'm going to be using soon, get it out of there so that it don't get buried. And I never do get it all. I mean, I think I've done a good job. And then after y'all do Yuns' little thing down there, there's always something of mine that I didn't get out in time, and it gets buried, and I have to dig. So that
You should
strikes.
put you I think you're exaggerating a little bit, but you should put you
No, I'm not.
you should put you some plexiglass walls around it, and put you a padlock on it.
Well, what I should do is not have to do this. That's how it should work. That's how it's supposed to work.
Well, I'm sorry.
But
Sorry to put the fear in you when you hear those words. I'm gonna clean out the basement.
and then there's sometimes there has been an occasion or two, and I know this is how it goes. Even if I wasn't there, most times I'm kind of in the periphery.
Being scared.
Yeah. There's been a time or two when she'll look at something of mine and say, even if she don't verbally say it, she may think it. But sometimes she said it and say, he don't need that. He don't need that for nothing. He's got more than one of them. That one's going to go. So, yeah, that's kind of scary because I've got stuff that and some of it may be junk, and a lot of it is, I guess, but
It's your junk, though.
it's my junk, and it's all crammed in that little corner of the basement, and it gets buried. So that is fearful.
Poor Matt.
But that's pretty much about the only thing,
You shouldn't have told me this. Now I have a secret weapon against you.
Oh, yes. And when I get out of line, you can start talking about cleaning the basement, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. You better watch your step or we'll be cleaning the basement.
Yeah, I can hold that over your head. You
Yeah.
don't want to clean the basement, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, we hope you enjoyed hearing these answers. We appreciate everyone that submitted questions, and we appreciate you a lot. And we're always glad when you stop by to help us celebrate Appalachia.